Welcome to the True That Show, a show about lifepreneurship presented with wit, humor, and banter by Deborah Drummond and Caroline Blanchard. A lifepreneur is someone who's living life the way an entrepreneur runs their business. All in. Lifepreneurs are rock stars. Lifepreneurs are people who are brave, who risk, who live full on, who think out of the box, who win this thing called life. Lifepreneurs are around us every day. They are everyday heroes. Join Deborah and Caroline, these two stage-walking women who tell it like it is. You'll learn from the most incredible lifepreneurs who will inspire you to be the best version of you. Now here are your hosts.
Hello, welcome back everybody to another amazing, and I know I always say amazing week to the True That Show, but we only have amazing here. I mean, that's our bar. You know, we go amazing and up, and today we really nailed it. Oh, okay. So for those of you that are on the podcast and not on the video, you didn't see Caroline doing pointing an arrow at herself when I talked about amazing. And if this is your first time here, well, you got it right at the beginning of the show. Anyways, I'm very excited today because you know what, our show is about entrepreneurs and lifepreneurs. And, you know, we know that a lot of you out there love to get that juice from what entrepreneurs do, because let's face it, they're a little crazy. Or you are one yourself, or you want to be one, or you're just like, I'm happy where I am. I'm going to let you be crazy. But the reason why I'm so excited is because most entrepreneurs, they have a reason, you know, they're crazy for a reason, or they stay up till 4 a.m. for a reason, or they think out of the box for a reason, or they're made fun of for a reason. And one of those reasons is because they're fueled. Now they may be fueled for a different passion than you think, you know, you would ever be fueled by. But Caroline, I mean, how many times have we done some pretty cool stuff together, and people will say it to you. Now, we were talking earlier outside of having, you know, to being a mom of 2 and you being a mom of 3 and having to get up at 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. I mean, my son's first night's sleep in his life, people, he was 8 years old. So, you know, yeah, I was passionate about the love of my darling son, but there was times I got up because I had to, right? And I got into entrepreneurship because I wanted to stop having to have to, and I wanted to live in want to. And so that's kind of where I hang out. And there's times like, you know, when you're on that path because it fuels you, right? When you get up, it's because you want to. There's something deeper inside, and that's this woman's specialty. But Caroline, share with me. Tell me a time where you like felt on fire, or felt fueled, or you knew you were on passion.
When I met you. See, she can't take compliments, and then she's like, you're never giving me compliments. And then when I do one, it all goes like awkward silence. No, yes, that was one of the moments, but clearly there was a few, because I'm not a person who likes routine that much. I mean, it's kind of like ironic. I really need a routine in certain things, like in my getting up and doing some stuff, but in my work, my professional work, it has to be different. And it's funny because when I was younger, having jobs and all of this, imagine at 19, I decided to be a chiropractor assistant. This is like a person that really needs to look at every single detail and not miss one. Well, I sent wrong patients in sometimes and stuff like that. So it was not my forte. I mean, I loved being the receptionist and the secretary because I played that game probably for 10 years when I was a kid. You know, I had my all made up office. So I thought it was the job I wanted to do forever. But anyway, long story short, I realized I'm not a detail oriented person. And I'm also a person who fuels on new projects and, you know, having a why that always evolves. Because of course, like if you ask someone, any parent, like, what's your why? I'm pretty sure it's going to be their kids. Because whether we want it or not, we need to feed them. It's a legal requirement. So of course, you know, you have that as a why. Why do you need to go to work? Because I need to feed them. But that will fuel you out of obligation. You know, but there's that other fuel, like Deb is just taking on a crazy project. And I'm sure you guys heard about it. If you haven't, go back to our, episode about 2 weeks ago. She's talking about walking for 10 days in Dublin, 8 to 10 hours a day, because she had a vision. So basically, there's a fuel to that to say, okay, I will keep on doing it. And it has to be very strong, because it has to be stronger than a job where you're scared of losing your paycheck. Because as an entrepreneur, you do have that fear, but no one can really fires you. But on the other end, there's no money that is guaranteed. So you really need something strong inside of you to fuel you. And so I don't have one specific one. I would say my biggest moment after meeting you was, when I had my son. That was my biggest moment of like being fueled, because he was my firstborn. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm entering this crazy world of parenting. Yes. And I would do it again if I had no choice. No, I'm joking. But yes, what I love about our guest today, and I'm going to let you introduce her, Deb, but it's that she really explains, where to get that fuel and what is that fuel that we're talking about.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it's interesting because as you start to, here's my kind of gauge point. And what I like is when you guys meet Selena, and you're going to feel a sense of relief, because if you are new to following your path or your passion, and depending on the kind of people that you have that surrounds you, it's still important to have people that got your back, particularly when it's something that they've never known, that, and it's almost like they have faith in you because you have this faith, you have this desire, and how it shows up in the world is very different. I mean, I'm very clear at this stage in my life that I'm here to serve. Now, I was the happiest cocktail waitress in the world in my 20s. And I didn't know why, other than, I love music and I was having a great time in my life, but I was in service. I mean, I just loved my people, right? I loved them as much as when I owned a private healing studio. We were healing and doing thousands of massage. I was as much in my purpose serving, rum and Coke, as I was healing people, in the sense that I was in service and people were receiving joy from that service, right? And so that's kind of what I do. That's what we do. I mean, I'm ecstatic about the launch that we've got coming up around our books, because we know that it's going to impact people. Then I feel like I've been in service. So the interesting thing, and the thing I love about this woman, is that she gets you to like that soul place, that place that where your soul, and then you get to decide where you want to take it to the world. It's really kind of expansive. Anyways, I don't want to take away this woman's, I don't want to put words in her mouth, because she's certainly got lots of really great ones to share herself. So Selena, please welcome the show. Come on to the show and introduce yourself and let us know about you a little bit.
Hi, everyone. And thank you guys so much for having me. It's so great to connect with you ladies. You both shared such incredible aspects of what we are speaking on, the theme of what we're speaking on today. And I can really feel that both of you are very much living your lives on purpose in a way that does fuel your soul, and that there is that level of passion and enthusiasm and also co-creation, that sense of when Caroline was talking about how much, Deborah, you've come into her life, and really just your energies coming together actually created a new energy within her. That's the magic right there that I love to speak about. And I'm so grateful to share that today, and to be able to help the audience to recognize the power in really connecting that bridge between our soul, our spirit, and the practical application of that through our everyday tasks and everyday reality and everyday, as Carolyn said it, obligations even. And so that is something that I'm very passionate about helping people with. I call myself a facilitator of transformation, because I love to put people in spaces that really encourages them to not only connect with their essence on a soul level, like you said, the service aspect of what you do, Deborah. It's not about whether you're a cocktail waitress or whether you're writing this book and putting together this amazing product for people to benefit from, or running teams with Neora. Like, you're so diverse in what you do, but your underlying essence is that to be of service. And that is the soul essence that I speak of when I say the spirit. It's the spirit that has a very specific theme and essence that we want to connect with as our why. And our why is going to be different from person to person. I mean, for me, it's teaching and leading. If I'm not doing something where I'm teaching and leading, then I'm not actually feeling like I'm on purpose. And so for me, it's been a variety of different expressions of that, because of course, teaching and leading can show up in so many different ways. I've been a personal trainer. I've had the opportunity to be a tutor at the age of 16. I started my own company to help other students learn math who had just departed from high school because they had kids and their whole lives changed and they want to come back and graduate. You know, I've actually been able to run several over 200 events and workshops and retreats to help people to find their essence, find their purpose, and to be able to apply that in a way that is entrepreneurial and that there is an actionable outcome that can lead to something that is sustainable, that is maintainable, and that is successful ultimately.
Wow. Wow. That was just a big like, whoo, there you go, let's splash. You know what? I will bring it back to basic English. So for someone who is like, I'm just like me right now, I'm so impressed with what I just heard, but how does, like, you know, we go from questioning ourselves to having this big transformation? Because it can seem like such a huge journey to take, but you help people to take it step by step and not making it real, you know? So how do you do that?
Yeah, I think it's really just being able to take a step back and really look at your life from a very different perspective. So it's like you can go through a journey within your own life experience and look at it as though you're watching your own life. And if you go through all the different things that you've done, one of the ways that I like to do it is I like to write. I'm a journaler. I create discovery workbooks for people. I write 30 minutes every morning. I've been doing it since 2012. It's something that has helped me radically. And my journaling process is very much about asking questions. And what I've learned is that when you ask yourself the right questions, you will automatically get the right answers. But we're so used to asking the wrong questions. We're used to asking questions like, what is wrong with the world? What is wrong with me? Why aren't I doing better? How come I'm not successful? Why aren't I getting the results that I want? But instead of asking questions like that, if we change the mindset around the question asking and we ask questions like, well, who am I? And what do I feel like I'm on this planet for? And what do people say about me frequently that's positive? And what do I notice I light up with when I do and execute? And what brings me a high level of joy? I mean, Deborah was talking about the flow. What a beautiful way to just really look at our lives and say, when does time fly? You know, there's that saying that says, time flies when I'm having fun. Well, when you're having fun, you're in flow. Right. And so when you're in that flow space, it's like, well, what is driving that force? What is creating such a beautiful interdimensional experience within you that suddenly this 3D concept of time gets completely wiped off and suddenly you're in this place of just constant bliss and productivity and effectiveness. And that is when you know that there's something that is actually driving your car that is not your mind, that is not your emotional body, because we have a physical body, emotional body, mental body, and spiritual body. When you're in the flow, it's like your heart and your soul are super connected to your body, and your body's just executing from that higher, infinite possible place. And that's really where I recommend people start. What makes you feel like your soul is driving your car?
I totally relate to the part of journaling because I journaled every day for years and years and years and years. And,
Wow.
and Caroline knows, even that was part of what we put into our planner, and not to sit here and try to pump our product, but we actually said we can't produce a planner for entrepreneurs without producing a planner that talks about personal development.
Yeah.
Because we're interrelated, right? And it's those questions we put in that makes people think, so that the answers they write down are like soul serving. You know, I loved what you said about, because most of you are like, I'm not where I am, and what, and you're asking why, but you know, asking the right questions is so important. And I think even when we go to people for advice, I think that's probably that could be such a great opener. It's like, you know, go to people that you trust. And so if I was, you know, to go to Caroline and say like, what is it? Do you see anything that's, you know, or see something where I do light up? I love your expression of light up. Like, where do you see me get excited? Where do you see that? Or people can see that from outside you. They're like, I've never known anybody to be so happy than when they're cooking. And you're like, yeah, well, I can't cook for a living. Well, maybe you can. Or maybe you can do a YouTube channel of cooking. Or maybe you can do like, even at a lot of times, because we're listening to a lot of people are entrepreneurs, but even your hobbies, you know, those things that you do outside of out of what you're doing for your work, if it can't be that full, because I think it's a part of our mental health. I think serving our soul is part of our mental health. Like, it makes me happy. There's things that I have to do because I got to do them. But those things that I love to do makes me feel like things are right in the world with me. I think it's such a big part of mental health. I got to ask you, so, you know, obviously we could talk forever about this and those things that kind of turn us on in different ways. But so someone's feeling like there's some things that I do that I really love, and there's things that I don't, or I don't really know, or I'm at that place, or there's crossroads, or I'm really drawn to having a deeper conversation with you. Like, what I know of you so far is that there's been times you've worked with people privately. You've done big groups. You have this idea around, not this idea, but you want to create these large meditations. You want to move people in a course, in a program. Like, where do you tell people to start? Like, how do they start with you?
That's a great question. Yeah, I actually just launched an online group. It's really simple because it's a place where people can come together. There's weekly channeled guidance, there's writing prompts, there's the opportunity to ask personal questions. If you want, you can also get really deep with me and get actually handwritten messages delivered to your doorstep every month. And I actually create paintings for people to meditate with. I connect to their soul and I literally channel their soul's energy onto a texturized piece of art that they can close their eyes and use like Braille to get information and guidance on a very deep subconscious level with. So depending on how deep you want to go with me, you can join my Soul Spark program and you can decide whether you want to just dabble into it and start receiving guidance and messages through the program, or if you want to get deeper and you want to receive more individualized messages, you can do that as well. And that's really a good place to start because there's nothing that forces you in any direction. And it's not a program in the sense where there's a blueprint. I really believe everybody has their own soul path and everyone has their own journey in life. And I think one of my biggest realizations going into the business world was I was taking all these seminars and studying from all these people and researching all these programs and diving into all these cookie cutter type ways of doing business. And I tried everything. And nothing resonated with me. And that's when I realized, oh, it's because I'm actually kind of an outlier and I'm not meant to do things in a programmed fashion. And then what I watched happen was people that were going down the soul path actually one by one started having the same experience as me. So it's like when we're very much in this mental body, when we're very much locked into the matrix programming and the 9 to 5 concepts, what happens is that we just use our brains and we just use our bodies. But when we start diving into these other aspects of self that are really grand and limitless, what happens is that we start to shift our relationship with what we do and how we do it and why we do it. And so the program is actually something that's less routine and it's much more intuitively guided. It's much more heart-centered and it's much more it's much more in flow with your individuality rather than something that's cookie cutter. And I think that's the beauty of joining a program like mine, because you get to realize that there's a specific thing for you in your journey that is not applicable to everybody else. And so I recommend people join Soul Spark. It's where people come together, they thrive. There's a lot of support. There's a lot of encouragement. You can take it how far you want to go. You can start small and rise. You can decide that you want to go all in from the get-go. There's all these amazing giveaways that I do every month, and you get the opportunity to meet people who are on the same path as you. So that's my recommendation. Yeah.
I love that you said you're not a cookie cutter person, because I'm not. And I was trying to say that earlier with my, the job that I had. And then because people would tell me like, oh my gosh, you're not detail oriented enough. And until you actually accept who you are and what's your strength, and what's your weaknesses, you can feel like tossed into being told you're just not right for this. And then there's that saying that I saw on Facebook the other day, don't judge the ability of a fish by how he can climb a tree, because then for sure the fish is doomed, So I'm saying that to say that I like what you said, but I'm also a person to, as much as Deb and I are close and doing a lot of things together, we are also so opposite. I've been trying to journal for so long, and then I'll do a few mornings, a few weeks, and then boom, gone, and then boom, gone, and I re-get into it. And I think that you really hit a point there when you said, when you do your work in all of this, you use your brain and you use your body, and it's something that we're kind of like born with, and we do it, but we're not taught to use our emotional body, like you were saying, in our spiritual body. And it can be scary to start, using that. And when you said all of that, I just got a click. When I journal and everything, that's where I go tap. And it does require openness and work in different parts, because it is more demanding, because you're entering something. So that's probably why I also close it, and I'm like, okay, done for now, unconsciously probably. But what do you suggest in those moments? Because
actually, I have the perfect thing for you, perfect thing for you based on everything you just described, because what it sounds like is you just need some form of prompting, right? It's if you and you need to know that it's something that is very simple, and it's only going to require a little bit of time, and you can tap into that space, but then you can leave it and go do what you need to do every day without feeling like you did something wrong, or you didn't do it right, or you didn't do it at all. So I actually have a complimentary discovery workbook that is on my website. Anybody can go on the website and download it. And it's 20 pages, and all you have to do is 1 page per day. And it goes into all these different aspects of yourself. So whether you want to go into your emotions, whether you want to go into how to create a new reality for yourself, whether you want to look into your past and heal some of the things that have happened, or forgive somebody, the entire program is set up in such a way where it starts with the mind, and then it kind of moves into the emotions, and it finishes with the soul. So it's a journey that you go through each day, and it asks all the right questions for you to kind of just dive into yourself at a deeper level and really get real. And you can just download that off my website. Yeah.
So the interesting thing is, I think when Caroline was talking, and I think we've all been there, done that, and not to that degree, not to that just specific situation, but sometimes we come up against ourselves. Sometimes if we're writing and something unfolds and you're like, oh, or when we're like, are we really living our passion? Are we really living our path? Even though, and by the way, to those people that are listening, even spiritual people and people that make a living off doing meditation or whatever have the same question. Nobody, we all have limits of what we're willing to delve into in our personal life. Just because someone does this doesn't mean that they've got everything handled. But when you kind of come up against yourself and you're like, oh, I don't know what to do with that, or it's kind of scary if someone's writing or listening or having that experience where there's a knowingness, I could do more or I could do deeper, but I don't know what to do about that. I don't know where to go. And so it's easy to kind of, like Caroline said, close the book or stop reading that book or turn off the podcast or the whatever, because now we're starting to get close to where you could have a breakthrough. What do you suggest around that? I mean, people are at different places, right? But when people are knowing but scared.
And you know what? I think this is a very interesting time with what you're talking about, because it really depends on how much light you're allowing yourself to receive. And by light, I just mean information, right? Divine insight, light bulb moments. And sometimes when we're just getting started on the journey, we can't receive too much information because it'll literally paralyze us or throw us into a dark night of the soul experience that's like, oh, this is so heavy, right? But if we just move about it in a graceful manner, that just allows us enough to be able to open up to more light and open up to more light and open up to more light, over time, we will see the progress. So I always recommend people just tune into themselves and say, well, how much am I willing to face in myself right now? Because I've had people that have had confront themselves with one big thing and they needed a year to process it. And that's totally fine. And some people will process 3 things in a day, and other people will need a month per big breakthrough. And it just depends on how fast and how far you want to go with this. I don't think that there's an expectation that we should be putting on ourselves to say, this is what I need to heal right now, and this is all that matters, and I got to get it done now, because I don't think that's actually supportive to the flow of the process. And so I really recommend people honor their process, and just before going into anything, and maybe we call it sabotaging in a way, it's like, just really get real with yourself and say, well, how much am I ready to receive this? And if the answer is not at all, then maybe just ask yourself again tomorrow, because maybe tomorrow you'll be 5% up from that, not at all. And really honor self, because I've noticed that when people experience huge breakthroughs in a way that's like too fast, too soon, it's very uncomfortable. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable.
That's why I love so much that you have this. I mean, I think we could pretty well all agree that, that's the culture, the community that you've built on Facebook for people to go in and have, people that have their back. This is when I think you can have those close friends. It doesn't have to be 50 of them. It could be one person working with someone. I mean, I don't want to call you a coach, but per se, a comrade, someone that you can have that experience with and bounce those things off, help grade you out. And this is where, who are you hanging with? When you who are you hanging with? Because it's so important to have people that don't necessarily have to back you 100% in everything you do. But when you start to kind of want to go in and doing your purpose, even using that sentence, man, I'm really working on, living my purpose. And if that doesn't make people get up and go, oh, just who's your support circle, which is why I love you have this access for people to be able to talk about, because we're all at a journey. It's all a journey, right?
And sorry, what I was going to say is that for me anyway, those kind of groups can be easier because you're actually with strangers who have not put you in a box yet, and because when we have our friends and our family and people around us, whether you want it or not, you're in a box. Like, I'm the baby of the family, so I'll never know better than my siblings. That's just like, even when I'm 72, I won't know better. So we're placed in a box. And when you join groups like that, or, a program like that, and not that I want to call it a program, but it allows you to connect with strangers that at that moment in life, we have the same purpose. We do the same thing. And that's what I really like about your process here. And you have such a calming voice, I have to say. I hope you record meditation or something. You have a calming voice.
Thank you. Deborah and I are on that.
Oh, awesome. I didn't even know. See? Deborah must have had another vision.
I'm going to cut our conversation. I want to know, and I know Caroline talked about it earlier, and I don't know if we've kind of put it aside a little bit. I think I did. I want to bring it back. How did you have your breakthrough? How did you end up here? I know you talked a little bit about having a marital status change, I call them.
Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely was a marital status change that really caused this huge eruption within me. And I think a lot of women go through this, where they're in a marriage and they're in a marriage with the same paradigm that they grew up with. So the marriage mimics what they experience with their own family members and their parents and their uncles and their aunts and whoever they were really looking up to when they were kids. And as we evolve and we work on ourselves, our view of who we are within relationships starts to change. And that was happening for me in a really big way in my marriage. And I started asking questions like, I really want to create this, and I really want to create that, and I really see the world in this way. And my partner was just like not having it and not comfortable with me being so excited and passionate about out of the box ways of doing things. We were both working for the same corporation, and there was very strict rules about what was acceptable, what was not acceptable. We had signed all of these papers to say that we wouldn't go forth and do these things. So there was a lot of fear that was coming from that. And I think that fear was really kind of overruling our relationship, and it kind of cast the shadow over me that made me feel like I was super trapped. So coming out of the relationship, I immediately, within 6 months of my divorce, started my first company. I started a personal training life coaching gym. I had done my NLP Master Practitioner, and I was fusing exercise with affirmation work and self-development work through kettlebell training, TRX training, and just speaking and coaching through the process of exercise, which I've never seen anyone do anything like that before. And I just was so blown away with how good it felt to actually create something from scratch, to be able to have 23 clients from the day that I opened my business, to be able to actually see people come in and leave without feeling like they had to adhere to rules that didn't resonate with their value system. And that's really where it all started for me, was to be able to actually kind of leave the box, right? And to be able to dabble and try something that I really thought would be cool, but I didn't know for sure. And then once I got into that, then it was like everything kind of just, oh, I don't actually want to rent a place and be bound here. I want to travel and I want to do this. So I'm going to start this online, and I'm going to see what it's like to host this big event in this huge banquet hall and lose tons of money, but give people an unforgettable experience. And, you know, it was really an experiential thing for me, because I personally learned through trial and error. I don't know how you guys learn, but I personally love learning through trial and error. And when you're young, you're like curious and you want to make all these mistakes, because you know that if you make a mistake, you can actually reverse it just by learning through it. And that was my approach. And I did everything and anything and the craziest things. Like I'd go to these islands in Mexico and I'd turn the island into my clients, and I'd go from house to house without speaking any Spanish and do healing work on these people and find a way to just survive there. And then I'd fly back and try this type of a workshop and watch all these interesting people come in and see them all start these businesses. And it was just the most amazing roller coaster ride that I put myself on. And after going through that roller coaster ride and really just dissecting, okay, that I liked, that I didn't like, that I liked, that I didn't like, that was cool, that was really uncool, never do that again. And it was like this whole process. And then I just like took everything that I ever learned and loved, and I started packing it together and coming up with a new form that I could then build stability off of that. And that's where I'm at right now. It's the congregation of all that I've ever done. It's taking all fingers of my hand and saying, we're one hand now. And that's the process that I've been through.
You're impressive, girl.
Thank you.
Impressive. So we will need to have you on another podcast on how to find, how to start your business.
Definitely, yes.
It's your method. And trial and error, that's a way. I don't like it, but who doesn't live it really? As an entrepreneur, if you haven't gone through it, it's because you're not successful yet.
You have to take risks, right? So
yeah. So to come to a close, Selena, where can people reach you, and how can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can actually just go to SelenaEllaMoon.com. It's SELENA. Ella is ELLA Moon, the moon, MOON.com. And you'll see on my homepage, it talks a little bit about Soul Spark. You can click there and learn all about the details of the program. It's very comprehensive. There's a lot of information there. So just take it in bite-sized pieces. There's amazing testimonials you can read through of clients and retreat participants that I worked with that share a lot about their journey, so you can get a feel for what it's like. And then if you want to contact me, you can just go to the Contact Us section on the website and contact me directly from there. If you guys are really interested in getting started with the journaling process, like I said, there's a free complimentary download of a discovery workbook on the main menu that you can just click on. It's a PDF. You can download it. I recommend printing it and handwriting your answers every day. And there you have it, the beginning of the transformation.
Awesome. Thank you. I will definitely go print it, because first of all, I love paper. I love writing. And, I really enjoy trying new things. And obviously yours is a proven successful one. So yes. Thank you for being here. Yes. And I will leave the last word to Deborah, because Deborah, as spiritual as she is, she wants the last word.
And that, my friends, is called throwing the pot. So me and Caroline love soul bantering. Our souls were meant to banter. Don't you love it when you can laugh at yourself through the jokes of others? So this is a show on being humble. This is our humble show. Anyways, thank you so much for coming on. And I think really, I love the word spark, because I think what you've done is spark the interest. And this is a vast, this is a vast conversation to have, and how people access that. And once they do, I mean, I'd love to have you back, because what I hear is, I can hear people out there asking, okay, so once I tap into this, what do I do? Like, what do I do? So let's do a part 2 of what do I do when I start to really get in touch with it. And then when I find out what it is, then where do I go with that? Because if you've listened to your story, it sounds like you've done this and done this and done this. And people you can hear I can't move to Mexico. I got 6 kids, and they'll come up with all of their reasons for not getting in touch with their soul. But honestly, your soul could be as simple as what I was talking about earlier. You totally gig making homemade applesauce, and all of a sudden, the next thing you know, you're on, Netflix with your own cook show. The world is really vast, right? When you're on path, things happen. And talking about that, the whole podcast, how it happened, me and Caroline meeting together in our direct sales company to go open, Australia. Who knew, after all those hotels and after those flights and all those trade shows, that we all of a sudden would be having a podcast and books and planners and all of those things that actually make us feel super excited. So I just want to wrap up with saying that thank you so much for coming on. And if you out there in podcast land would love to come on to the show, we'd love to have you. It's about the truth, right? It's about the truth of what it takes to get to where you want to go. So if you're a lifepreneur, if you're an entrepreneur, the new word of my world has been ultrapreneur. If you want to come on and share your story, please, we're here. A part of our path, part of our mission, part of our soul work, I guess Selena would say, is to create platforms for people to be able to share their work, which is, what we do. If you feel like you want to be part of a book, where we do books. If you would like to be a co-author and collaborate, and if you'd like to put something into our planner that inspires people, even in our planner, we've left a number of spots in there for people that are that want to personally brand themselves or business brand themselves, and put a quote that really means something to you, right? And I know Caroline heard it through someone else, but I heard it through Caroline. So I just get to say that I heard from Caroline that your story or your words can be the game changer for somebody else's life, right? So contact us. Thank you again. I know this will not be the last time we talk at all. And again, Caroline, thank you for such a great show. Such a wonderful hostess you are.
Thank you guys for having me. Both of you guys are amazing together. You have great podcast chemistry. So I'm so happy you guys are doing this. It's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, we'll see you